Welcome to Thesis Statement, the show where a college dropout attempts to deal with his mental health problems by having sporadic Pepe Sylvia-type meltdowns on camera. Carol! That college dropout would be me, Josh Price, and I'm back on my bullshit. Let's get to class. The year was 1999, and you'd be hard-pressed to find a major memorable movie from that year. Really? All of those? That can't be right. Hold on. Holy cow. No wonder this movie got left behind. Okay. In that case, maybe I should start with Frankenstein and work my way back to Deep Blue Sea. So the year was 1816, and fingers crossed you'd be hard-pressed to find a major movie released that year? Okay, we're good. Mary Shelley attends a party where everybody does a bunch of drugs and they have a competition to see who can write the next great ghost story. Naturally, because she's a boss, Mary hits a bad patch of writer's block, has a 3-day panic attack that keeps her up all night before she effortlessly writes a stinking banger of a novel. What she wrote that night would, over the next 2 years, become Frankenstein, the modern Prometheus. Never mind that she completely botched the prompt. It was worth it. I probably don't need to get into the details, since Frankenstein has been adapted to the big screen more times than the murder of Bruce Wayne's parents. But since I'm a lunatic, I'm gonna do it anyway. Here we go. Victor Frankenstein.
That's Frankenstein.
Mopey uber nerd, who probably, maybe, definitely would have made friends with the incel crowd if he were a real person alive today, cobbles together the approximation of a human body. Through mysterious methods, he is able to bring this body back to life, and the creature is absolutely stunning. The creature is rather intelligent, recognizes that it is more or less alone in the world, and asks his creator for a wife.
The Bride of Frankenstein.
Tricky Vic agrees, but then decides he doesn't want to do it anymore, so he destroys his work. This doesn't go over well with Frankenstein's monster, so Dr. V tries laying low for a while. The creature dogs his every move, trying to get an audience with the doctor, and somewhat unintentionally, and kind of on purpose, kills everyone Victor cares about in the process. Eventually, the doctor fucks off by dog sled to the goddamn North Pole to get away from the monster. Of course, this doesn't work, and Frankenstein dies from the fatigue and illness brought on by racing across the ice without bringing any Campbell's soup along.
Nothing melts away the cold like a delicious hot bowl of Campbell's soup.
Indirectly, the monster has killed him, and now Frankenstein's monster can slink off to a solitary place, presumably to die as well.
Let it snow, let it snow.
Considered one of the first science fiction novels, Frankenstein blends elements of horror, philosophy, and the known sciences of the time to tell the tale of a scientist whose hubris and obstinance got a whole bunch of people unalived before he himself was more or less killed by his own creation. It's like rain. And that brings me to today's crossroads, Deep Blue Sea. 183 years after Mary Shelley put hot fire to the page, during what was apparently one of the most densely populated release lineups in movie history, a little action horror arrived in theaters. Since its release, Deep Blue Sea has had a strong following. It was panned heavily by critics. Despite this, the people who liked the movie really liked this movie. It garnered an immediate cult following, one which was only bolstered when the film started playing on cable TV in the early aughts. Partially driven by nostalgia, the fans of this film are diehard. They will insist Deep Blue Sea never got a fair shake. And I'm inclined to agree with them. Underneath the schlock and trappings of the millennium, this movie has some solid bones. At first glance, my boy Sam Jackson would appear to be the most likely candidate for Dr. Frankenstein.
Russell Franklin, Janice Higgins.
And while he does bankroll the entire operation,
You're dying, my guess.
he's not really the bad guy here. He's actually kind of admirable.
Yeah, I'm the man.
He's a rich dude with a new lease on life who's decided to spend his fortune on scientific research for the betterment of the world.
I've decided I'm going to like you.
It's not his fault that now the sharks are super smart and hella angry. As in Shelley's classic, our true villain is the overreaching scientist. Dr. Susan McAllister has gone out of her way to secretly modify the brains of the sharks of this underwater facility without any regard for how this could potentially backfire. Which proves to me that Susan does not suffer from any sort of anxiety disorder, since in less than 30 seconds, I would have been able to tell you 5 different ways this could go south. Good old Sue throws caution to the wind. Or waves, I guess, and amps the shark's intelligence stat to the max. The sharks get upset that the scientists are poking and prodding them during their studies, and stage a revolt. They kill one of Susan's peers, using the body to break into the lab. And then they spend the rest of the movie reminding us that there can be some serious consequences to messing with nature. From here on out, the majority of the comparisons to Frankenstein kind of make themselves obvious. But what I'd like to turn your attention to specifically is the end of the film. Susan provides a distraction for the rest of the survivors, and when she completes her task, her escape route fails. Watching Susan from the moment she jumps into the water to the point where the ladder breaks as she tries to climb out, it seems as if she is resigned to the fact that she will probably die at the fins of her creation. This mirrors Dr. Frankenstein directly. After losing basically every person he cares about, he still has not learned the lesson that he should have. His pride stands in the way, prohibiting him from seeing his own mistakes. Instead, he simply sees his circumstances as being unavoidable, and he also resigns himself to his fate, dying cold and alone in the Arctic. Susan doesn't learn anything. She's the reason all these people died, and why our survivors are going to have a totally rational fear of water for the rest of their days. She's calloused to the deaths of her coworkers, feeling entirely justified in her experiments right up to the end. The only sympathy she displays throughout the entire ordeal is for herself. She is an ultimately unlikable character, a cautionary tale of what can happen when we allow ourselves to be swallowed up by the pursuit of progress with no consideration for the potential outcomes and consequences. At the end of the day, Deep Blue Sea displays a better understanding of the character of Victor Frankenstein than any direct adaptation of the novel ever has. It flexes its knowledge of the spirit of the story, while giving us some cheesy turn-of-the-millennium action at the same time. And for that reason, it gets my personal stamp of approval. No pitchforks, no fires, just open water, perfect omelet.
Amateurs often add milk for density. This is a mistake.
R.I.P. LL Cool J's bird. Class dismissed. Thanks for watching. If you liked it, do all of that stuff. Why haven't I been doing it like that this whole time?
You know, that was quite an impressive speech you gave back there.